Hi everyone, my name is David White. I'm the Content Marketing Director at Connected Free, and today I want to do a quick vlog on how to find out what your competitors are up to. In particular, I want to talk about understanding competitor activity from a social media and from a digital PR perspective. So I've always said that knowledge is power when it comes to planning any social media or digital PR strategy, because you're going to want to know what content your competitors are producing, what kind of links they are placing, what kind of campaigns they are running, and what kind of other marketing activities they're doing as well, because this will help you to better your strategies, to understand gaps in their strategies which maybe you can fill, and ultimately make sure that you stay one step ahead of the competition at all times. So I'm going to start with something that isn't really talked about, and it's quite a simple trick or tactic really to do, and that's to sign up to your competitor's newsletter if they have one. So for example, if you're working in with an e-commerce brand, find out who their competitors are. Should they have a newsletter? Input your personal email address into that, and maybe you'll get an update every time they run a promotion or once a month. Now, in these monthly newsletters, what kind of normally tends to happen is they'll show you exactly what the business has been up to, what they've been doing, where they've been going, as well as what kind of new products and trends that they're talking about. They will also probably share any kind of PR campaigns or social media campaigns that they've run within the past month. Now, take these newsletters and learn from them and understand them. Such a great way to get insights directly into your competitors' brands, because you'll see exactly what they've been prioritizing over the past 4 weeks. It's worth noting that you want to stay on their newsletter list for as long as possible, and try and write down some bullet points of kind of the key concepts or topics that they cover. This is really good from a social media perspective. So if, for example, you've been on the newsletter mailing list for 15 months, and you know that every January your competitor talks about New Year's savings, then you will probably want to take an educated guess that next January they're going to be talking about that. Or maybe in November that we're talking about bonfire night or whatever. I know that these are really kind of obvious examples, but it's just to get the point across. Ultimately, by reading their newsletters for a long period of time, you can start to see what events that they continually target. So if, for example, taking the New Year's savings option in January, if January is approaching, you can say, well, I know that they're going to be doing that. Okay, and then you want to take a look back through their site last year or the year before and find out what time did they start to produce the content. What kind of content was it? When did they start posting on social media? Did they do any link building around it? If so, what was it? And then you can make that educated guess and say, well, they're probably going to be doing something similar this year. At that point, you can sit down with your internal team or external agencies and say, we think that competitor A is going to be doing this across these channels. Do we want to fight it? Do we want to produce that content before them and steal some of the limelight away from them? Or do we want to avoid it completely and not even get into that battle? It's only by signing up to newsletters and making a note of what's happening each month that you get that level of detail and that you can make those decisions. Another way to get insight into a competitor is, again, may sound super easy, and it's not necessarily a digital PR tactic, but it will help your digital PR strategies. Is to buy something, okay? Or at least visit a showroom, or at least inquire about a product. Obviously, if you're working with a kitchen brand, I don't expect you to go and buy a brand new kitchen, but you could inquire about their products or even visit a showroom. Or if it is something which is a much more less, like something that costs a lot less, for example, a plant brand, then maybe you do actually want to go purchase the plant online and get it delivered. Go through that customer journey. Understand what it is that your competitors' customers go through when they buy a product. Okay? What kind of market material do you get hit with? Put something in your cart and then leave. Walk away. And see what happens. Do you start to get emails through? Do you start to get targeted on social media? If so, what do them emails say? What do them social media posts say? And then you might then take that information and sit internally again with your internal teams or external agencies and say, you know what? We know that every time someone drops out of the cart on competitor A, that they're getting targeted with this. How can we get in front of that customer at that point and try and persuade them to come with us? Again, it will give you insights such as what's good or what's bad about the customer journey, and you can take that learnings and better your own strategy. Take your learnings and understand what kind of FAQs are on their site. Maybe there's some questions in there which you haven't considered. Maybe you want to put that into a digital PR or a social media strategy, but it's only by getting into the mindset of your competitors' customers that you can understand how to steal them. okay? And you can understand what it is that they like, what it is that they dislike, what points are they going to drop off, and how you can make sure you get in front of them, be that through digital PR, be that through one-site content, be that through social media or whatever channel. Another key tactic as well is, this one's more of a digital PR approach, and it's to understand what kind of links or PR placements they have placed historically. So you're going to want to use some link index tools here, so BuzzSumo, Ahrefs, SEMrush, etc. Go through and have a look at what they were doing 3 months ago, 4 months ago, however long you want to go back, and see what kind of conversations they were talking about with the media, what kind of links they were placing. Again, understand and start to see if there are trends there. Ahrefs, I believe, shows you as much as a link profile as possible. I think in BuzzSumo you can go back up to 5 years. So if you know that every March the competitor A does a campaign around gardening trends, then you want to learn from that and say, well, actually, again, do we want to go out with that earlier? Do we want to be the person who's dominating that conversation, or do we want to avoid it? What kind of publications were they getting talked about as well? Run a link intersect tool. So a link intersect tool is something that Ahrefs offers, where you can put in your domain and your competitor's domain, and you can see where they've got links, where you haven't got links. So by knowing where they've been placed shows you opportunity. Okay, so if we know that, for example, Ideal Home cover the competitor a lot, have a look into that. What is it? Is it a promotion? Is it a sponsorship? Is it kind of an advertising campaign? If it's PR, find out who that journalist is and target them with your own conversation. By understanding historical activity from a PR perspective shows you opportunity moving forward from a PR perspective. They were just some really kind of quick, I suppose, tips and hints. I would love to hear more about how you do it. So if you want to drop some notes in the comments, or reaching out to me on Twitter, or come through to the Connected Free site, feel free. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on how you're tracking competitor activity from a social media and digital PR perspective. Thanks for listening, and stay safe.